have you ever felt trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, unable to escape the chaos within? Welcome to Stoic Way, where ancient wisdom lights the path to modern serenity. Today's world bombards us with endless demands, work pressures, family responsibilities, and uncertainties about what lies ahead, leaving our minds cluttered and restless. If you've ever lain awake, exhausted yet unable to quiet the storm of overthinking, you're not alone. In this journey, we'll uncover 16 practical, Stoic-inspired strategies to detox your mind, release unnecessary worries, and reclaim the peace you deserve. Stay with us as we explore how these timeless lessons can reshape your life one calming step at a time. 1. Practice self-compassion. At the heart of a peaceful mind lies self-compassion, a Stoic virtue that Seneca captured beautifully. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This means treating yourself with the same gentleness you'd offer a cherished friend, rather than wielding the sharp edge of self-criticism. Life throws challenges, missed deadlines, personal missteps, and it's easy to plunge into a cycle of harsh judgment, convincing yourself you're not good enough. But self-compassion flips the script. Picture this: you fumbled a presentation at work. Instead of spiraling into "I'm a failure," you pause and say, "It's all right." This kindness doesn't erase the error, it softens its sting. By letting go of excessive self-blame, you reduce the mental clutter that fuels stress and anxiety. Seneca's wisdom reminds us that our suffering often stems from imagined flaws, not the events themselves. When you embrace your imperfections with understanding, you build a foundation of resilience. This isn't about excusing laziness, it's about supporting yourself through setbacks with empathy. Over time, this practice steadies your emotions, strengthens your spirit, and opens a pathway to lasting inner calm. Start today. The next time you stumble, speak to yourself with warmth and encouragement. It's a small act with profound rewards. To meditate daily. A daily meditation is a sanctuary for an overactive mind, a simple yet transformative tool rooted in Stoic mindfulness. In our fast-paced, modern existence, thoughts race relentlessly, worries about tomorrow, regrets from yesterday, leaving little room for peace. Meditation carves out that space. To find a quiet corner, sit comfortably and close your eyes. Focus on your breath. Feel the cool air entering your nostrils, the gentle rise of your chest, the slow exhale. When your mind wanders to a looming deadline or an unresolved argument, don't wrestle with it, gently return to your breathing. This isn't about emptying your head of thoughts, it's about observing them without letting them steer you. Imagine sitting by a river, watching leaves float by. You don't jump in after them, you let them drift. Over weeks, this habit sharpens your concentration, softens your anxiety, and teaches patience. You'll notice how often your stress comes from chasing thoughts, rather than facing reality. A mere 10 minutes daily can shift your perspective, helping you meet life's chaos with a serene, clear gaze. It's not mystical, it's practical. By anchoring yourself in the present, you break free from the endless loop of overthinking, cultivating a mind that's steady and strong. 3. Use positive affirmations. Words shape our world, a truth Seneca understood when he said, "Much of our happiness depends on our attitude, not our circumstances." Positive affirmations are deliberate, uplifting statements that reframe your mindset, turning doubt into determination. Wake up and declare, "Today, I'll seize every opportunity to grow." Instead of groaning, "This day will be a mess." If work feels overwhelming, stand before a mirror and affirm, "I'm skilled, capable, and ready for this challenge." These aren't empty platitudes, they're mental tools. Our thoughts soft and default to negativity, magnifying fears and flaws. Affirmations counter that, redirecting focus to strengths and possibilities. They don't erase problems, but they shift how you face them. Try this. Identify a recurring worry. "Perhaps I'll never succeed," and craft its opposite. "I'm on a path to success, step by step." Repeat it daily, especially when doubt creeps in. This rewires your inner dialogue, quieting the clamor of overthinking. It's a Stoic act of controlling what's within your power, your attitude. Over time, this builds a buoyant, proactive spirit, cutting through stress with quiet confidence. Simplify your life. Complexity breeds chaos. Simplicity restores calm or less. Seneca distilled, the mind decides if we're happy or miserable, rich or poor. Simplifying your life isn't just tidying your desk, it's a mental overhaul. Start with your surroundings. Scan your home. A stack of unused gadgets. The closet stuffed with forgotten clothes, each item silently saps your energy. Begin small. Donate what doesn't serve you, keeping only what brings joy or utility. A cleaner space mirrors a clearer mind. Now, extend this to your schedule. Modern life piles on commitments, endless meetings, social obligations until you're stretched thin. Practice saying, "I'd love to, but my plate's full," and watch relief wash over you. This isn't selfishness, it's sanity. Simplification also reaches your thoughts. We juggle too many what-ifs about the future. Let them go, focus on now. A streamlined existence sharpens your priorities, slashing the mental noise that fuels overwhelm. You'll find more time for meaningful pursuits, learning, resting, connecting without the weight of excess. Simplicity isn't deprivation, it's liberation, a Stoic key to peace. 5. Cultivate patience. Patience is a Stoic superpower. As Marcus Aurelius observed, life is more a wrestling match than a dance, stand ready for sudden blows. Today, instant results are king. Fast food, same-day delivery, making delays feel unbearable. Yet, patience turns frustration into growth. Imagine waiting in a long line. Instead of tapping your foot in irritation, take deep breaths and notice your surroundings, the hum of voices, the scent of coffee. This shift doesn't speed the line, but it cools your temper. Life's full of hiccups, traffic jams, slow replies, and impatience amplifies their sting. Patience lets you accept what you can't control, freeing you from pointless resistance. It's not passivity, it's poise. When a project stalls, rather than fume, you reflect, "This is a chance to refine my approach." This builds mental stamina, letting you tackle challenges with a level head. Practice it in small dose, linger a moment longer before reacting, and watch your calm deepen. Patience isn't just enduring, it's thriving through life's unpredictability. 6. Limit information intake. We're swimming in data, news alerts, social media feeds, inbox pings, each clamoring for a piece of us. Marcus Aurelius warned, "Your happiness hinges on your thoughts' quality." Unchecked, this flood drowns clarity, breeding tension. Take control. Swap doom scrolling for curated sources, perhaps a podcast on growth or a book that inspires. Set timers, 30 minutes daily for updates, then unplug. At first, you itch to check your phone, but soon, the quiet feels like freedom. This isn't ignorance, it's intention. Most info we gulp down, celebrity gossip, fleeting trends, adds no value, just clutter. Cutting it sharpens focus, giving your mind room to breathe. You'll rediscover creativity. Notice subtleties, a child's laugh, a sunset's glow. Less noise, more peace. It's a Stoic choice. Master what enters your mind, and serenity follows. Body and mind are intertwined, a truth Seneca grasped. A future-obsessed mind breeds misery. Exercise breaks that cycle, igniting vitality. Picture a brisk morning run. Fresh air fills your lungs, your pulse quickens, and worries fade with each stride. Endorphins surge, lifting your mood, while focus on movement roots you in the present. No need for marathons, start with a walk, a bike ride, or yoga stretches. Aim for 30 minutes daily. It's not just physical. Exertion clears mental fog, boosting resilience. After a session, you feel accomplished, not drained, a quiet pride that steadies your spirit. Studies back it. Exercise slashes stress hormones, sharpens cognition. For Stoics, it's practical wisdom care for your vessel, and your mind thrives. Begin today, lace up your shoes, step outside, and let motion mend your soul. 8. Set clear boundaries. Boundaries shield your peace. A lesson from Epictetus: no one harms you unless you permit it. Without them, others' needs overrun your reserves. Imagine your boss nudges you to stay late again. Saying, "I see the urgency, but I need rest tonight," isn't weak, it's wise. Boundaries span beyond work. Limit draining chats. Guard personal time. They're not walls, they're gates. Letting in what aligns with your values. Picture a friend who vents endlessly. "I care, but let's keep this short today," keeps you sane. This takes practice. Saying no feels awkward, but it's liberation. Boundaries trim stress, curb resentment, and reclaim your energy. People respect clarity. Relationships deepen when you honor yourself. Start small. Pick one area: work, socializing, and draw a line. Peace grows when you protect what's yours. 9. Surround yourself with positivity. Your circle shapes your spirit. As Seneca noted, the strongest conquer themselves. Choose companions who spark light, those who cheer your wins, not dim them. A friend who sees hope in every hurdle lifts you higher than one who grumbles non-stop. Positivity spreads. Their energy fuels yours, brightening your lens on life. Contrast this with chronic naysayers. Their gloom seeps in, sapping your drive. This isn't about ditching the downtrodden, it's curating growth. Seek those who inspire, mentors, dreamers, and watch your resilience soar. Picture coffee with someone who radiates zest. You leave buzzing, not bogged down. It's Stoic logic. Control your environment, and your mind follows. Invest in these bonds. They're a buffer against life's storms. 10. Embrace impermanence. Life shifts endlessly. A truth Marcus Aurelius embraced. Watch change's waves, don't fear them. Accepting impermanence, that joys and sorrows pass, frees you from clinging. A job snag or a rainy day. It's temporary, not eternal. This doesn't numb you, it empowers you. Instead of dreading loss, you savor now: a child's giggle, a warm meal. When trouble hits, you think, this too will fade, and pivot to solutions. Resistance breeds angst, acceptance breeds calm. It's not fatalism, it's flexibility. Seasons turn, moods shift. Knowing this softens anxiety's grip. Try it. Next setback, remind yourself it's fleeting. Gratitude deepens, fear shrinks. Impermanence isn't loss, it's life's pulse, guiding you to peace. 11. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness unshackles your soul. Echoing Epictetus, what matters isn't what happens, but your response. It's not condoning wrong, it's releasing its hold. Picture a past hurt. Holding rage keeps you caged, not them. Forgiving means, I won't let this define me. It's tough. Anger feels righteous but liberating. Resentment gnaws energy. Letting go heals. Imagine a friend's slight. You say, I'm done carrying this, and feel lighter. It's not weakness, it's strength. Studies show it cuts stress, lifts mood. For Stoics, it's shedding what's beyond control. Reflect, who can you release? One act of grace clears years of clutter, restoring your mind's quiet. 12. Make time for hobbies. Hobbies are a lifeline. As Epictetus hinted, leisure without depth is a living tomb. Carve out time for what fires you up: gardening, strumming a guitar, an hour lost in paint strokes melts tension, channeling emotions outward. It's not about skill, it's joy. Picture sketching a tree. Each line pulls you from tomorrow's worries into now. This focus mirrors Stoic presence, easing overthinking's churn. Hobbies recharge you, sparking a glow work can't touch. They're not frivolous, they're vital. Start with 30 minutes. Dust off that novel need dough. Fulfillment flows, stress ebbs. It's your space to create, breathe, and simply be. You need to say no. Saying no is a Stoic art. Per Seneca, things aren't tough because we don't dare, they're tough because we don't. Yes, to all exhausts you work piles, favors mount. Imagine a colleague's extra task. I'm stretched thin, but thanks saves your sanity. It's not cold, it's care. Overcommitting breeds burnout. Refusal restores balance. Practice it. I'd love to, but not now. Delivered kindly sets a tone. Guilt fades as calm rises. You're not a doormat. You're deliberate. Discards time, sharpens focus, and cuts stress's roots. Try it. Next ask. Weigh your load. Decline if needed. No isn't rejection, it's reclaiming your peace. 14. Spend time in nature. Nature soothes, a truth Seneca tied to soul's peace. Step outside, a park's green hush, a forest's rustle tension and winds. Urban clamor fades, wind whispers calm. Walk barefoot on grass, hear birdsong, each sensation grounds you. Studies confirm it, nature lowers cortisol, boosts joy. It's Stoic simplicity, life's essence stripped bare. No forest, balcony with plants works. Inhale deeply, watch clouds drift, mind settles. This isn't escape, it's renewal. Schedule it, weekly hikes, daily breaths outdoors. Nature's rhythm realens yours, easing life's haste. 15. Disconnect digitally. Screens enslave us, defying Marcus Aurelius. Call, peace is inward, don't chase it out there. Phones buzz, feed scroll, your mind phrase. Unplug, a day since tech feels odd, then freeing. No alerts, just stillness, time stretches. Read, walk, talk, real moments surface. Constant input overloads, breaks revive. Set rules. No devices post 8 p.m. or a Sunday offline. At first, you'll fidget, then relish the quiet. It's not isolation, it's intention. Tech's a tool, not master. This curbs anxiety, sharpens presence. Test it, one evening unplugged. Peace isn't in pixels, it's in the pause. 16. Keep a personal journal. Writing unveils your mind, a practice Marcus Aurelius honed in Meditations. A journal captures chaos, fears, wins, questions, clearing mental haze. Facing a rough patch. Scribble it, I'm swamped, why? Answers emerge. It's not venting, it's dissecting. Pen on paper orders thoughts, revealing patterns. Start nightly, 5 minutes, no filter, what moved you today. Stress shrinks as words flow. It's Stoic reflection, know thyself. Over months, growth tracks, clarity sharpens. No rules, just honesty. This isn't Biz York, it's a mirror, a bomb. Write, and watch your soul steady. These 16 Stoic secrets, from self-kindness to journaling for your path to inner peace. Silencing overthinking with practical wisdom. They're not quick fixes, but tools to master your mind, live deliberately, and savor life's depth. Stoic way thrives on this truth. Calm is within reach. Which strategy struck you? Share below. Love your take. Like, share, and subscribe for more on Stoic living. Don't miss our next discussion with Benjamin and Charlotte, unpacking these ideas further. Stay for the wisdom, your peace awaits.
All right, let's dive in. Today we're tackling something we all crave a bit more of, especially these days, peace of mind.
Ooh, that sounds nice.
It does, doesn't it? And to help us on this quest for calm, we're exploring an excerpt from Stoic Lessons. Calm your mind and overthinking begone.
Okay.
And, it's funny because Stoicism sometimes gets a bad rap. Like it's all about being, I don't know, emotionless or something.
Yeah, kind of like a robot, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But our excerpt digs into how Stoicism can actually be a super practical guide to, well, handling all the craziness life throws at us.
I like it already.
Me too. And get this, it gives us 16, count on 16, strategies to try out. Imagine like quieting that inner critic after you mess up, or, finding a moment of zen in the middle of total chaos.
Sign me up. So where do we start?
Well, the first one really grabbed my attention. It's all about self-compassion.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And the excerpt actually quotes Seneca on this, who said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality."
Oh, that's good. That's so true.
It is, isn't it? Like, we tend to make things way worse in our heads than they actually are in the moment.
100%. I know I'm guilty of that.
Me too.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious, how do we actually put self-compassion into practice? Does it mean letting ourselves off the hook for mistakes?
That's a good question. It's not so much about that. It's more like treating yourself with the same kindness you'd offer a friend who's, going through something similar.
Oh, okay. So if I totally bombed a presentation at work, instead of just mentally beating myself up,
Okay.
I should try to, talk to myself the same way I'd comfort a friend.
Exactly. You wouldn't tell your friend they were a total failure, right? You'd offer support, understanding, maybe even crack a joke to lighten the mood.
I like that. It's
Yeah.
like a total reframing. Instead of all that negative self-talk, I can offer myself encouragement and actually, learn from the experience.
Exactly. Self-compassion isn't about ignoring our flaws. It's about acknowledging them, but with, a bit of kindness. We all make mistakes.
Right. It makes sense. And I bet that shift in thinking can really help reduce stress and anxiety.
It definitely does. You can move forward with more clarity and resilience, for sure.
Like building a little safety net for your mind. So what's the next tool we can add to our calm building kit?
Well, this one is a classic, and for good reason. Daily meditation.
Oh, yeah, meditation. I've tried it on and off,
It can be so helpful. The excerpt describes it as like creating a peaceful space in your mind, a little escape from all those racing thoughts.
That's interesting, because I always thought meditation was about, emptying your mind completely.
Right, a lot of people think that. But it's more about observing those thoughts without getting totally swept away by them.
So not necessarily trying to make them go away, just noticing them.
Exactly. The excerpt uses this great visual. It's like watching leaves float down a stream. You see them, but you don't jump in and chase after each one.
Oh, I like that. So what would daily meditation look like practically speaking?
It can be really simple. Find a quiet spot, close your eyes, and just focus on your breath. Your mind will wander. That's totally normal.
Oh, good, because mine definitely does.
And when it wanders, you just gently bring your attention back to your breath. That's all.
It sounds almost deceptively simple.
It is. But even a few minutes, even 10 minutes a day, can make a huge difference.
I could see that. Just a little mental vacation.
You got it. You might even notice you can concentrate better, you're less anxious, and even more patient.
So meditation helps us kind of break free from all that overthinking by, bringing us back to the present moment.
You could say that, yeah. It's like hitting the pause button on all that mental chatter. Now, ready for a bit of a shift in gears?
Yeah, hit me.
Let's talk about the power of positive affirmations. The excerpt really emphasizes how much our words can shape our reality. It even quotes Seneca again. He said, "Much of our happiness depends on our attitude, not our circumstances."
Positive affirmations, huh? I'll be honest, I've always been a little skeptical. Are they just feel-good phrases, or can they actually, rewire our thinking?
They can be powerful, way more than just feel-good phrases, I think. They can really help counter all those negative thoughts that creep in.
So instead of focusing on I can't do this, or I'm not good enough kind of thoughts, we can try to shift to more I am capable, or I am worthy.
Exactly. Just think about how those different phrases make you feel. The negative ones, they just shrink you down,
Yeah.
While the positive ones, they kind of lift you up.
I get it. It's like choosing to focus on your strengths and the good stuff, the possibilities.
And the excerpt gives a great tip for creating effective affirmations. Identify a worry you have, and then come up with a positive statement that directly counters that worry.
Oh, I see. So let's say I'm always worried about failing. Maybe my affirmation could be something like, I am resourceful, I'm capable, and I can handle challenges.
Perfect example. And the key is to repeat these affirmations regularly, especially when those doubts start to creep in.
So training my brain to focus on solutions instead of problems.
Exactly. It's like replacing that negative soundtrack in your head with something more positive and encouraging.
Wow. Okay, that's actually pretty powerful. So we've got self-compassion, meditation, and positive affirmations in our toolkit so far.
And now let's add simplifying your life. It goes beyond just like decluttering your space, although that's definitely a great place to start.
Okay, so what does it mean to, like, simplify your life from a Stoic perspective?
It's about remembering what truly matters. The excerpt quotes Seneca once more. He says, "The mind decides if we're happy or miserable, rich or poor." It's not about stuff. It's about that inner peace.
Right, I get that. But in our world, it's so easy to get caught up in, I don't know, commitments, information overload, just all the stuff.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's where simplifying comes in. Start small. Donate clothes you don't wear. Clear off that desk that's driving you crazy.
Oh, that would feel good.
Right, and maybe you start saying no to things that just drain your energy, things that don't really matter to you.
So it's about creating space, both like physically and mentally, to actually focus on what's important.
That's it. Simplifying isn't about deprivation. It's about making choices that align with your values and bring you a sense of peace.
I like that. It's empowering, I'm not constantly chasing after something. I'm choosing what matters.
Now, to really embrace that, to really enjoy that space you've created, we need another skill, patience.
Ooh, patience.
Yeah.
That one's tough sometimes.
Tell me about it. But the excerpt uses this great analogy. It quotes Marcus Aurelius, who said, "Life is more a wrestling match than a dance stand ready for sudden blows."
Huh. I kind of like that. It's so true. Life throws curveballs, and we're not exactly, encouraged to be patient these days.
Yeah, instant gratification is everywhere. But what if we could reframe those moments of waiting? Like, in a long line, stuck in traffic.
Okay.
And instead of getting frustrated, use that time to just observe, take a few deep breaths, remind yourself that it's temporary.
That's a good point, a good mindset shift.
Patience isn't about, like, giving up or being passive. It's about accepting what you can't control and choosing how you respond.
Choosing how you respond, I like that.
Yeah.
It's about finding that calm, even when things are, a little chaotic.
Which seems especially important now with, information overload everywhere. The excerpt talks about limiting our information intake, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. It can be hard to escape the constant news and social media.
It's everywhere. And it quotes Marcus Aurelius again, saying, "Your happiness hinges on your thoughts' quality." So if we're always taking in negative or stressful information, it's going to affect us, right?
It makes sense. Like, I wouldn't eat junk food all day and expect to feel amazing.
Exactly. But we often do that with information, don't we? Mindlessly scrolling, getting caught up in the negativity.
All the time. So how do we actually cut back on the information overload?
It's about being more mindful. Instead of scrolling endlessly, maybe you read a book, listen to a podcast, something positive.
It's like being picky about what we feed our minds, just like we might be picky about our food.
Right. And it's not about disconnecting completely. Maybe you check news and social media once or twice a day, set a time limit.
Okay, I could try that. And then use the rest of the day to, actually focus on other things.
Exactly. It frees up so much mental space to just be present and do things you enjoy.
And that brings us to another strategy that connects our physical well-being to a calmer mind. Exercise.
Oh, exercise is key.
I always feel so much better after a workout. But what's the Stoic perspective on it?
The excerpt connects it to a Seneca quote. "A future-obsessed mind breeds misery." So by moving our bodies, we're bringing ourselves back to the present moment.
Like a moving meditation almost.
Exactly. You're focused on how your body feels, your breath, and all those racing thoughts, they kind of quiet down.
I can see that. And of course, there are those endorphins.
Always a bonus.
Yeah.
So find something you actually enjoy doing, walking, dancing, whatever it is.
Right. It's not about pushing yourself to the limit or anything like that.
The excerpt suggests aiming for 30 minutes a day, but even a little bit can make a difference. Just make it a habit.
And I imagine that sense of accomplishment after a workout can boost your confidence, which ties back to self-compassion, right?
Absolutely. It's like building resilience on all these different levels.
I like that. Now, speaking of resilience, the excerpt also talks about setting clear boundaries. That's something I struggle with.
Boundaries are so important. It's about protecting your energy and well-being.
I get it, but I always feel guilty saying no or like putting myself first.
I hear you. It's a common struggle. But the excerpt highlights a quote from Epictetus. He said, "No one harms you unless you permit it. You have more control than you might realize."
Okay, so boundaries are about recognizing my own limits and like communicating them to others.
Exactly. Saying no to things that drain you, limiting time with people who bring you down.
So it's not about like cutting people out of my life. It's about honoring my own needs and being clear about them.
Right, and boundaries can actually strengthen relationships. People respect you more when you're honest about your needs.
That's true. It's better than just saying yes to everything and ending up resentful and burnt out.
And it makes space for more genuine connections, ones that actually nourish you. Speaking of which, the excerpt also talks about the power of surrounding yourself with positivity.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like, if you hang out with negative people all the time, you're going to feel it.
Totally. It quotes Seneca, "The strongest conquer themselves," meaning we have the power to choose who we let into our inner circle.
That's a good point. Choose people who lift you up, not drag you down.
Exactly. And even if you can't always choose who you spend time with, like at work, you can still seek out moments of positivity, whether it's a call with a friend or listening to uplifting music.
Like, create little pockets of positivity wherever you can, even in tough situations.
Exactly. And that positive mindset, it makes you more resilient too. It helps you face challenges with more grace and acceptance. Which brings us to another important concept, embracing impermanence.
Ooh, that's a big one. That's something I'm still working on. Accepting that things change.
It's a process. The excerpt uses a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He says, "Watch change's waves, don't fear them." It's a reminder that everything in life is constantly in flux.
Yeah, the good times don't last forever, but neither do the bad times.
Exactly. And knowing that can be really freeing. It helps us let go of that desire for things to stay the same, which often just causes suffering.
It's about learning to go with the flow even when it's rough.
And when we embrace that, when we embrace impermanence, we can actually appreciate the present moment more fully, savor the joy, knowing it's precious. And during those tough times, remember, this too shall pass.
Wow, it's powerful. It's like taking the pressure off of trying to control everything.
And finding peace in the midst of all the change. Speaking of peace, let's talk about another important practice, forgiveness.
Forgiveness, oh man, that's a tough one, especially when you've been hurt.
It can be really hard. The excerpt quotes Epictetus. What matters isn't what happens, but your response. Forgiveness isn't about condoning what someone did. It's about letting go of that anger and resentment you might be holding on to.
So it's more about me and my well-being than about the other person.
You got it. Holding on to anger, it's like carrying around a heavy weight. Forgiveness is about putting that weight down and creating space for healing.
It's like freeing yourself from the past.
And it's not always a one-time thing. Be patient with yourself. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is, ourselves.
That's so true. We can be pretty hard on ourselves.
So yeah, forgiveness, both for ourselves and others, it's an act of self-care. It helps us move forward.
And on that note of moving forward, the excerpt also talks about something that can bring more lightness and joy into our lives. Making time for hobbies.
Ooh, hobbies. So important.
I agree. But they're often the first thing to go when I get busy.
It's so easy to let them slide. But the excerpt calls hobbies a lifeline. It even quotes Epictetus, who said, "Leisure without depth is a living tomb." It's about engaging in those activities that bring us genuine joy and fulfillment.
So rediscovering those things that make us feel alive.
Yeah.
Painting, playing music, whatever it is.
And there's no pressure to be good at it or anything. It's just about the enjoyment, the pure joy of doing it.
I like that. It's like giving ourselves permission to play, like when we were kids.
Exactly. Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference. And sometimes, to make that time, we need to practice another skill, saying no.
Oh, saying no. That's my kryptonite.
I hear that, but it's so essential. The excerpt quotes Seneca on this too. He said, "Things aren't tough because we don't dare. They're tough because we don't." Sometimes the hardest part is just making that decision to say no.
So it's about realizing that my time and energy are valuable, and it's okay to protect them.
Exactly. And it's not about being rude. You can say no gracefully, like, "I appreciate the offer, but I can't take that on right now."
That's helpful. I tend to over-explain, trying to justify my no.
And that just makes it harder. A simple, direct no is often all you need.
I'll work on that.
And the more you practice, the easier it gets. Trust me. And speaking of things that make life easier, the excerpt also highlights the importance of spending time in nature.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. I always feel so much calmer after being outside.
It's like our nervous systems just know how to respond to nature. The excerpt connects this to Seneca's belief in finding soul's peace.
I get that. And studies show that being in nature actually lowers stress hormones.
It's incredible. Even a short walk in the park or a few moments just looking at the sky, it can be so restorative.
I agree. It reminds you that you're part of something bigger, something beyond all the daily stress.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be like a big wilderness trip. Even having a few plants in your home can make a difference.
So, small steps, being intentional about bringing nature into our lives.
And speaking of intentionality, Let's talk about another strategy for creating a calmer, more focused mind. Disconnecting digitally.
That's a tough one these days. It's like
Yeah.
our devices are glued to us.
I know. The excerpt contrasts this with a Marcus Aurelius quote, "Peace is inward, don't chase it out there." True peace, it comes from within, not from our phones or social media.
So recognizing that our devices can actually be a distraction from that inner peace.
Exactly. All those notifications, emails, they create a sense of urgency that makes it hard to just be.
I totally get that.
Yeah.
But in our world, it feels almost impossible to completely disconnect.
It's not about disconnecting completely. It's about setting boundaries. Maybe you designate certain times as device-free, like an hour before bed.
Ooh, I like that. I've tried that before, and I sleep so much better.
Right. Or maybe you turn off non-essential notifications or even delete certain apps.
It's about being intentional, choosing how and when I engage with technology.
You got it. And finally, the excerpt talks about the power of keeping a personal journal.
Journaling, I like that. I've tried it before, but I'm not always consistent.
I get it. The key is to approach it without judgment. There are no rules. You can write about anything. Your dreams, frustrations, whatever's on your mind.
It's like having a conversation with myself on paper.
Exactly. It's a safe space to just process your thoughts and feelings. And over time, you might notice patterns, things that trigger you, things you need to work on.
It's like getting to know yourself better.
And that self-awareness, it's so powerful. It helps you make positive changes in your life. So we've covered a lot of ground today. We've got self-compassion, meditation, simplifying, embracing impermanence, forgiveness, hobbies, saying no, connecting with nature, disconnecting digitally, and journaling. That's quite the toolkit.
It is. And it's amazing how these ancient Stoic principles still feel so relevant and helpful today. It's not about being perfect. It's about having these tools to handle whatever life throws at us.
It's about navigating those ups and downs with a little more grace, a little more resilience.
And ultimately finding a sense of peace that comes from within, not from external stuff.
Exactly. It's about empowering yourself to create a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling no matter what.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm feeling inspired to start putting some of these strategies into practice right away.
That's fantastic. Start small, experiment, and see what works for you. And remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. Find a friend, join a group, talk about it.
Stoicism is all about community, supporting each other on the journey.
I like that. So for our listeners, I think the biggest takeaway is that we have more control over our well-being than we often realize.
Absolutely. We have the power to choose how we respond, how we think, how we live.
And that's incredibly empowering. So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive into Stoicism, I'd love for everyone to consider, which of these strategies really stood out to you? And how can you start incorporating it into your life starting today? It's all about those small steps.
One step at a time, one day at a time. We'll be back with more Stoic wisdom and practical tools for finding calm in part 2.
Stay tuned, folks. This is just the beginning of our journey toward a calmer, more resilient, and fulfilling life.
Welcome back to our exploration of Stoic strategies for finding calm in the chaos. Remember all those great tools we talked about in the last part? Self-compassion, daily meditation, those positive affirmations.
Yeah, I'm already trying to work some of those into my routine.
That's awesome. And today we're diving into even more practical tips from Stoic lessons. Calm your mind and overthinking be gone.
I'm ready for it. What's next on our list?
Well, this one really speaks to me, especially in our always connected world. It's about disconnecting digitally, creating some space for your mind to breathe.
Oh yeah, disconnecting. That sounds both amazing and incredibly hard.
I hear you. It's a challenge for sure. And the excerpt actually ties this to a quote from Marcus Aurelius. He said, "Peace is inward, don't chase it out there." It's a reminder that real peace, that calmness, it doesn't come from our phones or social media.
Right, it's got to come from within, not from some external thing.
And think about it. How often are we just mindlessly scrolling, getting lost in a sea of information and negativity?
All the time. It's like my phone is a part of me, always demanding attention.
And that constant connection, it takes a toll. It creates this urgency, this feeling of overwhelm, and makes it so hard to just be present.
Okay, so how do we actually break free? How do we disconnect when it feels like the world expects us to be connected 24/7?
It's about setting those boundaries, making conscious choices. Maybe it's designating certain times as device-free zones, like an hour before bed.
I've tried that before, and it really does help with sleep.
It does, doesn't it? Or maybe you turn off those non-essential notifications or even delete some social media apps, just for a while.
Yeah, like a little digital detox. kind of scary, but I can see how it would be helpful.
It is. And remember, it's not about becoming a total tech hermit. It's about finding that balance, what works for you.
Taking back control. I like that.
And speaking of taking control, the excerpt also talks about keeping a personal journal, something I find really helpful.
Oh, yeah. Journaling. I've started and stopped so many times.
Yeah.
I always have good intentions, but then life gets in the way.
I get it. The key is to just approach it without judgment. No rules, just you and the page.
Like no pressure to be a great writer or anything.
Exactly. It's your space to just explore whatever's on your mind, your dreams, worries, even just what you had for breakfast.
It's like talking to yourself, but on paper, right?
Right.
A safe space to process everything.
Exactly. And what's cool is that over time, you might start noticing patterns in your thinking, things that trigger you, things you want to work on.
That's interesting. It's like getting to know yourself on a deeper level.
And that self-awareness can be so powerful for making positive changes. Now, ready for a strategy that's all about bringing more joy into your life?
Always. What is it?
Make time for hobbies, those things you love to do, but always seem to get pushed aside.
Ugh, yes. Guilty as charged. Between work and family and everything else, my hobbies have definitely taken a backseat.
It happens to the best of us. But the excerpt actually calls hobbies a lifeline. And there's a great Epictetus quote that goes, "Leisure without depth is a living tomb."
Ooh, that's intense. A living tomb. So it's not just about relaxing, it's about engaging in something that brings us deeper fulfillment.
Exactly. It's about doing things that make you feel truly alive, whether it's painting, dancing, playing music, whatever lights you up.
I love that. And it doesn't have to be this huge time commitment, right?
Not at all. Even just a few minutes a day can make a difference. Just make it a habit, like brushing your teeth.
And to make that time, sometimes we need to use another skill, the one we talked about earlier, say no.
You got it. Learning to say no to things that drain you, to create that space for the things you love.
Okay, I'm seeing a theme here. Saying no seems to be key to a lot of these Stoic strategies.
It is. And it ties into another strategy the excerpt highlights, which is all about connecting with nature.
Oh, I love that one. Being in nature always makes me feel so much calmer and more grounded.
The excerpt connects this to Seneca's belief in finding soul's peace. And, studies have actually shown that being in nature lowers those stress hormones.
It makes sense, right? Like our bodies and minds are just wired to respond to the natural world.
It's incredible. And even small doses can make a difference. A walk in the park, having some plants in your home, just looking up at the sky.
It's about being intentional, bringing those little moments of nature into our daily routine, even if we live in a city.
Absolutely. And on that note of connection, let's talk about another important aspect of creating a calmer, more positive life, surrounding yourself with the right people.
Surround yourself with positivity, right? Like the people we spend time with really do influence our energy and outlook on life.
They do. And Seneca had something to say about this too. He said, "The strongest conquer themselves." In this context, it's about recognizing that we have the power to choose who we let into our inner circle.
So choose people who lift you up, inspire you, support you, not the ones who bring you down.
Exactly. And even if you can't always choose who you're around, like at work, you can still create little pockets of positivity, whether it's a call with a friend or listening to music that lifts your spirits.
It's like building up a defense against negativity, both internal and external.
And that brings us to a strategy that's all about shifting our perspective on the nature of life itself, embracing impermanence.
Impermanence, that's a big one. The idea that everything is constantly changing.
And the excerpt uses a great quote from Marcus Aurelius to illustrate this. He said, "Watch change's waves, don't fear them. It's a reminder that nothing stays the same forever, the good or the bad."
Yeah, easier said than done sometimes though, right? It's natural to want things to stay the same, especially the good stuff.
Of course. But clinging to that desire, that's often what causes suffering. When we embrace impermanence, we free ourselves.
So it's about learning to ride the waves, knowing that both the ups and downs are temporary.
And when we embrace that, we can actually be more present, Enjoy those good times, knowing they're precious. And during the tough times, remember, this too shall pass.
Wow, that's a powerful shift in perspective. It's like taking the pressure off of trying to control everything.
And finding that peace in the midst of all the change. Now, let's talk about another crucial element on this path to a calmer mind. Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, that's a loaded word. I know it's important, but it can be so hard, especially when you've been hurt or wronged.
I hear you. But the excerpt offers a helpful reframing, quoting Epictetus. What matters isn't what happens, but your response. Forgiveness isn't about saying what someone did was okay. It's about letting go of the anger, the resentment that's weighing you down.
So it's more about me, about freeing myself, than about the other person.
Exactly. Holding on to anger is like carrying around this heavy weight. Forgiveness is about putting that weight down, making space for healing.
Like choosing to break free from the past.
And it's a process, not always a one-time thing. Be gentle with yourself. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is ourselves, you know?
That's so true. We can be our own worst critics.
So yeah, forgiveness for ourselves and others, it's a huge act of self-care. It allows us to move forward lighter and freer. And speaking of moving forward with intention, let's talk about another key Stoic strategy. Learning to say no.
Saying no, ugh, that's my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I always feel obligated to say yes, even when I'm already stretched too thin.
I get it. It's a common struggle. But the excerpt emphasizes how important this is, quoting Seneca. Things aren't tough because we don't dare. They're tough because we don't. Sometimes the hardest part is simply deciding to say no.
It's so true. I think I worry too much about what others will think, about disappointing them.
I understand. But remember, you have a right to protect your time and energy.
Yeah.
And saying no isn't about being rude. It's about setting boundaries, honoring your needs.
It's about putting myself first sometimes, which I'm not always good at.
And, you know, you can say no gracefully. The excerpt even suggests phrases like, I appreciate the offer, but I can't take that on right now.
That's helpful. I tend to over-explain, like I have to justify my no.
And that just makes it harder. Sometimes a simple, direct no is all you need. And trust me, the more you practice, the easier it gets.
Okay, I'll work on that. So we've talked about disconnecting digitally, making time for hobbies, being in nature, saying no.
Yeah,
It's like all these strategies are connected.
they are. It's all about creating a life that feels more intentional, more aligned with your values and priorities.
And realizing that we have more power than we often realize to shape our own well-being, right?
Exactly. We can choose how we respond, how we think, how we live. It's all about making those choices that lead to a calmer, more fulfilling life.
I love that. This has been so insightful.
I'm glad. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Start small, try different things, see what works for you. And we'll be back in part 3 with even more Stoic wisdom to guide us on this path to calm and resilience.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. It's amazing how these ancient Stoic ideas can still feel so relevant today.
I know, right? Like, it's not just ancient philosophy. It's actually really practical advice for, navigating the modern world.
Totally. And what I really like about Stoic lessons, Calm Your Mind and Overthinking Begone, is that it doesn't just list these strategies, it connects them back to, like, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus.
Yeah, those Stoic heavy hitters, it gives it so much more depth.
It's like we're not just learning techniques, but tapping into a whole way of thinking, a way of being.
Exactly. And one of the biggest takeaways for me is that Stoicism isn't about, denying your emotions or pretending life is perfect.
Right. It's not about being a robot.
It's about having the tools to handle those inevitable ups and downs, to respond in a way that brings you closer to peace, not further away.
It's about taking control, not letting your emotions control you.
Exactly. And finding that inner peace that's not dependent on, everything going your way.
So for our listeners who might be feeling a bit overwhelmed by all these strategies, like, where would you suggest they start?
I'd say start small. Pick 1 or 2 things that really resonate with you and just experiment. Maybe you try that daily meditation or commit to spending a little time in nature each day.
Yeah, just those little steps.
Exactly. And be patient. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding what works for you.
It's a journey, right? Not a destination.
And you don't have to go it alone. The Stoics were all about community. Find a group, talk to a friend, start a discussion online.
Oh yeah, find your people, your support system.
Because Stoicism isn't about isolation, it's about supporting each other on the path to a calmer, more meaningful life.
I love that. And I think that's one of the most powerful takeaways from all this. We have more agency than we think when it comes to our own well-being.
Absolutely. These Stoic strategies, they give us a roadmap. But ultimately, it's up to each of us to choose our path, to create a life that feels authentic and fulfilling.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Stoic lessons, Calm Your Mind and Overthinking Begone, we want to leave you with a question. Which of these strategies really resonated with you? And how can you start incorporating it into your life starting today? Even those small steps can make a big difference in the long run.
So keep diving deeper, keep exploring, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep seeking that inner peace. You got this.
Until next time, folks, keep those Stoic principles in mind, and remember, you have the power to create a calmer, more resilient, and fulfilling life.